the Dance Fusion Show on TVU with your host, Marianne Kuebler, and our special guest, Andrew Merrigan. How you doing, Marianne?
I'm doing okay. Like I said, we're waiting for Monday for the next government drop on what they're going to do, and I'm crossing my fingers that we're going to go into step 2. I'm hoping that will be a big help.
And so you've continued with the alumni / staff series, and you brought to us Mr.
Andrew is not a staff. He
No?
was no. He's based out of Toronto now.
Oh, I thought he was flying in. I thought he was flying in once a week. He's on your staff list, isn't he?
No, he's on my list as an alumni. You're a I was going to say
I'm pushing for a staff show.
I was going to say, are you trying to get me another job here? That's great. That's just hold her feet to the fire. I think, yeah, that's great.
Oh my gosh, let's just have him. He probably can hardly wait to get back to Toronto, but I don't know.
It's true. Yeah. March 8th is when I'm officially going back because they're actually loosening the lockdown measures. So,
oh, that's good.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's been better to be out west, out here in Edmonton with my parents because there's a dance floor in the basement. Whereas in my my small apartment in Toronto.
Yeah, they kind of frown on you guys tapping in an apartment building.
Yeah. 220-pound man doesn't need to be tap dancing at all hours in the apartment,
Right.
That's good. That's good. So let's get your version, Marianne, of the alumni, and then we'll get to Mr. Merrigan because it is going to be a very interesting show here today.
Well, we're trying to recruit people that are not affiliated with the studio on a regular basis. Like I have somebody else that when she's free from filming, we'll get her on the show. So I'm just taking it a week at a time, and I just went, wait a minute, Andrew's here. He just got a puppy.
Yeah,
right?
I did. Yeah, oh. She's 4 months old. She's
oh my God, she's so
amazing.
Cute, James. She is adorable.
Yeah, jalapeno.
So how old? When does Andrew show up at Dance Fusion, Marianne? What's
I think it was in high school, weren't you, Andrew?
I think I was like 15.
Yeah, and he came originally to do tap with Gail Ledger, but then I don't know if you mentioned it in your little bio. You did hip hop here too.
I did. You had a knack for employing some pretty awesome teachers. I'm sure you still do. But like the hip hop teachers were awesome. I mean, Curtis Ledger, Gail's son, I ended up emceeing his wedding. Like we became like best friends. So
there you go. See?
So let's just jump right in. So you came to Dance Fusion, but you were already, if you're saying grade 10, so you're like a 16-year-old guy already.
Yeah.
You had been pretty busy in the tap world, even coming to Dance Fusion. You were on Team Canada.
Yes, I was.
You were also doing Tap for a Cure.
Yeah.
And you were regularly traveling between Los Angeles, Vancouver, St. Louis, and Maui. Tell this tap story, sir.
I was, I was really blessed growing up. My parents were in a situation where they could support me, and they did support me. They knew that I loved to tap dance. I ended up in dance at a very young age. I asked them if I could dance when I was 3 years old, which kind of broke my dad's heart because he was hoping that I'd be the next Wayne Gretzky coming, just right out of the 80s there, the late 80s. But yeah, I mean, I was lucky because I kind of just found stuff online. And I mean, it was pretty early in the finding things online. Like there wasn't necessarily social media when I was like 12 or 13. I had the support, and I traveled all over during the summers, and Gail Ledger, of course, was teaching at Dance Fusion, and she was the absolute best for tap in my opinion, and that's who I wanted to train with. And then I ended up doing hip hop, which was a lot of fun. And to be honest, part of me wishes that I still was taking a hip hop class now that I can't take any classes, because I think back and I wasn't the best dancer, but it was a lot of fun to express myself like that in high school.
That's what you get a little bit into tap into a Cure.
Tap into a Cure, yes. So Tap into a Cure ran for 5 years. We started it in 2006, I want to say. And we ran it. I can't remember, Marianne, was it a couple of years that we did it at Dance Fusion? I can't remember. Yeah.
I think
Y-
so, yeah.
Yeah. And like we had, I know that you interviewed Johnny and Hillary, I think Marianne was saying.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they were like involved in interning a couple of the years, and it was basically an idea that we could give back to the community. One year we did homelessness, another year we did the youth emergency shelter. It was just a general cure for whatever was kind of troubling the community that was close by and nearby and close to our hearts. And we I think we ran really amazing workshops. We brought in like some incredible tap dancers who, it was kind of ahead of its time, I think, in a way,
Yeah,
because
I
it
agree.
it kind of spawned, I think, a generation of tap dancers in the city, in Edmonton, in Sherwood Park, that had a chance to be kind of exposed to like Brill Barrett and Jason Samuel Smith. And even for hip hop, we brought in Mr. Wiggles of the legendary Rocksteady crew one year. And my favorite part of the whole thing was it was like a three-day weekend workshop, and then at the end of it we had this incredible show with all these masters, and all these students from the community got a chance to dance on stage with these masters too, at Festival Place, a lovely venue. Which again, I think about it and I reminisce. I miss live performing so much. It's
Yeah, I
breaking my heart
agree.
thinking about Festival Place just being empty and no
Yeah,
one doing anything there.
I agree.
And then the other one that's super interesting is being on Team Canada.
Yeah, going to Germany. What a wild ride that was. I was like, I want to say I was like 12 or 13 years old when I did that. And it was we were in, yeah, I think I was 12, and we were in Riesa, Germany for too long, like 12 days or a week, or 2 weeks, excuse me. And it was wild. Like they had only had like toilets and running water for about like 12 years at that point, because it was East Germany, and very few people spoke English. It was a bit of a culture shock. All the beverages were carbonated, and beer and smoking was just, it was everywhere. But the the cool thing was connecting with tap dancers from different parts of the world. I made friends with a young tap dancer from the Ukraine, Sergei Ostapenko, and I'm still connected through social media. We kind of lost touch and then regained, got back in contact. But yeah, it was wild. It was great being a part of a group. It was it was great representing Canada. We had two teams. We had Eastern Canada and Western Canada, and it was a blast. It really was. But like I said, the food was a culture shock. I think I think the whole team survived off McDonald's over there. Far too many meals, because everything else was honestly pretty weird. I'm pretty open to cuisine now, especially now as I'm older. But as a group of 12-year-olds, we were kind of shocked with like what they put in salads and what the sausages looked like and stuff. So I was pretty glad to get home after it was all said and done.
Awesome. And then you were you living in Edmonton or Sherwood Park?
I live in Edmonton, but I live, basically I do all my grocery shopping in Sherwood Park. Like that's
I mean,
what I
like,
always say. I'm like halfway between. I'm outside of Mill Woods, but we're on the way to Sherwood Park. We're
okay, but
wannabes.
as a youngster, did you grow up in the park?
I was in, no, I was in Edmonton growing up.
So you guys
So
came out to Dance Fusion.
yeah,
So
I
that's
did.
interesting.
Yeah,
And then,
because of the tap. Yeah,
oh, so, yeah, it was a great academy to be a part of.
yeah.
And then that another one, Marianne, I guess we can put in the ledger. You have a Bachelor of Fine Arts from Lethbridge University. So
Yes, I do.
you were in residence. You moved down there.
I moved down there. I got out of Dodge. I did, I didn't even apply to the U of A. I just really desperately wanted to spread my wings and get out of my parents' house. And as much as I love them and as supportive as they were, I needed to go on my own and do my own thing. And I did. I achieved what I wanted. I It's funny. My journey as a student was, getting out on my own and realizing that I could do whatever I wanted. And that resulted in academic probation after my first semester. And eventually I graduated with like a 3.6 or something like that. So I had to work my butt off. Like out there, shout out to all the kids going into university. Don't do what I did. Don't do what I did. Study hard early. Those classes are easy. They might seem hard, but they are easy. Get them done, get high grades. And then I'm not saying coast the rest of the way. I'm just saying the pressure won't be so difficult to try and get that GPA up there.
So what in your fourth year, it's a bachelor's, so it's
Yeah.
almost like a thesis, but what was, how do they sort of encapsulate
Well,
BFA?
so it was actually a beautiful program because they have this amazing, I want to say it's a 500 seat theater. It's somewhere between 400 and 500 seats. And it's kind of like, it takes you by surprise because you'd never think Lethbridge would have such a vibrant arts community. And I know if any of them listen to this, they're going to be mad that I said that, but it kind of takes you by surprise. And I was so glad to be a part of it. But every semester there was a major play produced, and you had to audition, and I was lucky enough that kind of once I started getting into the plays, I kind of every semester would get cast, and I think that's kind of how they kind of structure the program, and it culminated, I would say, in my absolute favorite. My favorite role was I played Falcor in a theater for young audiences adaptation of The Neverending Story, and I actually puppeteered a puppet for the whole thing on stage. But I really felt like I was really connected to that piece. That was my last show in university, so I would kind of say, if anything, that was like the thesis. That was like the culmination. That was my biggest role. I was operating a puppet through the whole show, and yeah, it was an awesome experience.
And obviously, because you have been shot you to where you are now, an actor, a director, a producer.
Yeah,
You're
well,
quite you're quite active.
well, you know what? It's you got to be well rounded if you're working in entertainment. Like, and I think of all people, uh, you could actually point to Shea Kuebler, that he kind of showed me that, like, it's if you're not just going to do this one thing, you're going to do a lot of things. And he was one of the staff members at Tap Into a Cure as well. But and it's not just him, it's pretty much anybody I ever saw kind of get out of Edmonton and start working in a major hub, and that being like Toronto or Vancouver or LA or New York or whatever. They start to really well round themselves and work hard, kind of growing in different ways rather than just being, I'm just this. I think artistry knows no medium. It's it's funny because what was that? Was that a year ago or a couple years ago? I don't know. Time. I guess it would be 2 years now. COVID year doesn't count. That we shot that music video.
Oh my gosh, and it was cold. Oh,
the coldest day I think ever. Really, it was like -50.
very cold.
Yeah, right after the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, and Marianne was kind enough to volunteer to donate her time to be in this video that we got funded from Tell a Story Hive, a program.
What's the name of it?
The song was called "Color" by Asim Chin. So it's a local artist. We shot it in a laundromat. It was so cold, but you know what? It wasn't too long of a day. We tried really hard. It's really hard in film not to just have these ridiculously long days. And the project was funded with a $10,000 grant. So there really wasn't. That might sound like a lot of money, but for a one-day shoot, when you got to feed people and you got to buy clothing and you got to buy set decorations, and you have to rent gear and you have to pay the crew who are shooting it. It was it went fast. It goes out of pocket really fast, and it was but I think we had a positive experience. I'd love to hear. I know, Marianne, we kind of had a really short kind of visit when I came to visit you at the studio back when the studio was still functioning, and but I'd love to hear like what you thought of doing that, because that was awesome. We also had Abby Chung.
Yep. She grew up at the studio, and I think I was her very first dance teacher. She was very little. I think she was 4 or 5. And I saw a little clip in a dance magazine where she mentioned that I had a voice that would carry from one end of the studio to another. And she remembers me very well. But that was great fun, dancing with her at the end of the video and whatever, or if you can call what I was doing dancing. It was fun. Anyways, it was fun. It was a fun project, right?
You know, I've been up on Tell Us Story Hive, and I know that they'll have the link there. So
All you have to do is go to YouTube. I looked the other day just to see if it was still there,
Still
and
there?
it is. Yep, it is still there.
I want to talk about your feature film Talk.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's actually a short film.
Short film.
It's how could I say it? Probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I had this idea that technology in certain methods of communication can kind of water down the truth about our mental health and how we're feeling. And not necessarily saying that it's a new concept, but it kind of resonated with me. And so it's kind of about this young woman. It's a mostly silent film. It's about a young woman who's having a text conversation. It was really exciting. I got a great VFX person that out of Toronto that worked on the film, that basically got the text messages to pop up on the screen the way that I wanted them. It was amazing. What it taught me ultimately, she has this conversation with a parent, a mother, assuming it's a mother, but she has this conversation, and essentially what ends up happening is you see what actually happens to her throughout her day, and she's struck with anxiety, she's struck with perhaps an eating disorder, she's so many of these little things kind of happen, and I show these images and just wanted to tell this story about someone who was studying alone in the room, and someone is checking on them and someone cares about them, but the fact that they're just texting back and forth kind of allows these I guess you call them white lies. I don't know, they're not good lies, they're basically just bad lies, but lies about how she feels and what's going on in her life. And I was pretty shocked and amazed. I kind of threw it into a few festivals, and it ended up in Australia at the Canberra Mental Health Film Festival, which, like, I didn't even know there was such thing as mental health film festivals, but I'm so grateful there are, because I think it's really important, especially young people, kind of as artists, to kind of get your work out there and kind of be able to express yourself, especially in that kind of a topic. But it's ultimately going to be released in, I think the last festival bid is in May. So once I hear back if they say yes or no, for young artists out there, it's probably going to be a no, and that's not a negative thing. It's just there's so much work out there. There's so many artists submitting things. Rejection is a healthy part of this job, and you get used to it, and you just have to let it fuel you rather than beat you down. But it got into the festival out there in Australia, so that was a huge kind of feather in my cap that I had a film premiere over there. It sucks that I didn't get to go because of COVID, but it is pretty cool. It is pretty cool.
Now we're going to play everything that you sent in. You sent in some
okay,
stuff.
all right.
So we'll play the actor reel first. That's
oh goodness. Okay, all right. The whole thing, eh?
It took me. I want to ask some questions about it, and then we're going to do for the last piece will be the caravan improvisation. I've got some questions about that too.
All right.
Some really
Sounds
cool
good.
stuff there. So, because the live stream ad that you submit is at the end of the actor reel. Right?
Yes.
So I'll just play the actor reel. Now,
Perfect.
is that all is that some stuff that you just did to put in there, or is that all snips of work?
Yeah. Okay. So everything except the very first thing. So the very first thing I did was literally just something fun we did that I wanted to just show off a character. But the rest of it is all things that I've done that is actual gigs.
It's so interesting. The how, and then because I'm sort of part of the business, but I'm learning this business as I go. But to see an action
Absolutely.
reel and see all the different kind of parts of your acting skills that you put together.
Well, and it's funny because there's a couple things that could be on there that aren't on there, but maybe they should be. I think the funniest gig I've ever done was I was on one of those dramatic reinterpretation recreation things, and it was about these two brothers who believe that they saw Bigfoot in the backcountry of Washington. And so one night in Hamilton, I had to pretend that I was terrified of Bigfoot and get out of my truck and look around and that kind of thing. And that's not on there. I'm sorry I'm bringing that up, but I just wanted to say that like, some of the gigs that you're going to get as an artist coming out of school, coming out of high school, coming out of university, aren't going to be the most glamorous things, but a paycheck is a paycheck, and it feels pretty good when you cash that check.
I was going to say the same thing. You take whatever job you can get. And
Exactly.
It might not be something you want to broadcast to the world where you,
Exactly.
where you play kind of a scary individual,
Yeah.
doing possibly illegal things, but
Oh yes, yep.
But it's a job, right?
It's a job, exactly. Like I had to. It's funny that you say that, because I had to play a internet predator in one of these shows, and again, that also isn't on my reel because I don't want to broadcast it. And I think even just talking about it here, I'm like, well, but I talked to my agent, and I'm like, I teach kids, and I know that it's just a show and whatever, but sometimes dance parents can be a little extreme, and not just dance parents, just people in general,
Yeah.
right? But and it's funny because she just said, well, like it's just a role, it's just a paycheck, it's one day. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. But ultimately, I did it, and it was actually pretty fun because you got to get in front of the camera. I got to do a monologue. I got to pretend to be interrogated. Like, it was actually, you have to think that you're learning and you're growing, even if it's something that kind of makes you uncomfortable like that.
Now the caravan. For improvisation. I think that before we talk about it, we have to talk about the Stumpy, Dr. Harold.
Yes, of course.
Talk a little bit about that before we go into talking about
I appreciate you asking about Dr. Harold Cromer. I met Harold in 2005. I want to say 2004, maybe, in New York. I went to New York to meet Dr. Jimmy Slide, who was at the time, is a very famous tap dancer, was when he was alive. But I knew about him, like he was like hailed as a famous tap dancer. And I ended up in Marcus Garvey Park in Harlem for a photo shoot called A Great Day in Tap, based off the Great Day in Jazz portrait that was taken years and years and years ago. And I ended up meeting Andrew Nemmer, who is actually born in Edmonton and runs Vancouver. I want to say the Tap Dance Society in Vancouver right now. An amazing tap dancer, amazing teacher. And he looked at me and he said, "Have you met Harold Cromer?" And I was just like, "No." And he took me over to this little man who was very aptly nicknamed Stumpy, from Stump and Stumpy, his vaudeville days with James Cross, which I have to say, because I've seen a bunch of stuff on the internet lately saying how it was so great that Stump and Stumpy inspired Martin and Lewis. No, Martin and Lewis stole from Stump and Stumpy. So it wasn't so much inspired. It was literally, they took it. James Cross wrote all the material, but Harold Cromer was his dance partner. And he was just this little tiny man. He's about 5'0", but biggest heart and the most wisdom. I was truly blessed. I got to share the stage with him. We did a musical theater duet in 2008. and he wanted to be Sammy Davis, who was his friend in real life when he was alive, and he wanted me to be Frank Sinatra. And I'll never forget it. I'll never forget the connection and the time he took to spend with me. And I really want to emphasize again, for like young artists, you see these, and I mean, right now, obviously, it's really hard to connect with seniors and connect with elderly artists and our kind of our forefathers as artists and in our art form as dancers. But it's so important that you listen to them and that you understand that whatever they're telling you is because they want the best for you, because they always want to share the dance. And that's the one thing I'll say about Harold, was he was this little black man from Hell's Kitchen, New York, and he was able to connect seamlessly with my family, with kids in Sherwood Park, with the media. CTV came and interviewed him, and I think they kind of thought he was going to be a joke. You know, this 93, 94-year-old tap dancer is visiting Sherwood Park. And it's funny, at the end of the year, the CTV entertainment, he was the #1 news story for the year that year. So he touched everyone's lives that he came in contact with. Right now, one of his students who I grew up dancing with, Sarah Reich, she's killing it right now. Shout out to Sarah. Check her out on Instagram, Sour Taps. She's awesome. I love her. We grew up just idolizing this man, and yeah, he was dancing and teaching in like up until like 95, 96 years old. So
you take that kind of all that we've talked about, and then the one piece that you submit is the caravan improvisation.
Mm-hmm.
And there, it's so interesting that you do, because it shows a zone. And I've talked about it with the other people that have been on. And just tell us about what's going on there and where you go to be able to do what you do.
Well, okay, so I submitted that partially because it's one of the most recent clips I have of me dancing live in a club in front of an audience. And I was really grateful that the 120 Diner, which is no longer in existence, sadly, because of COVID, gave me a monthly jam night. And honestly, like anything else that I wanted, if I wanted to put up an event there or whatever, they were so incredible with artists. But I had this monthly jam, and they helped me arrange musicians for every month. And I will say that there was something magical about that space in general. But like you mentioned, the zone that you get into, the way that I end up there is that you're performing with these absolute incredible, like, monsters, young lions of the industry. They're playing these incredible instruments, and they're so skilled at it. And you almost think that, like, wow, like, I wonder how is this like what it was like for Jenny Lagan, who was another one of my mentors, or Hal Cromer, when they were out dancing out in front of Duke Ellington, and that kind of like the big band. And you'll never really have that feeling again without a special arrangement to have that. So you kind of just embrace the fact that you're expressing yourself in the moment. You let go of other people's interpretations of your art. That's what I love. One of the hardest things for me as a filmmaker, as an actor, when I'm auditioning, like I'm sitting at home and I'm self-taping, is to let go of what other people, because I'm always kind of concerned of like what other people, like what the casting director, what the director is going to think of this. But with improvisation in the moment as a dancer, you don't have time for that. You're just existing like an animal. Like if you ever watch, like I take such joy out of watching my dog, because she acts entirely on instinct. She doesn't, there's no preface of any sort of like, is this good? Will this be good if I do this? Which sometimes gets her in trouble, but she's a good dog. But yeah, I think you wind up in the zone simply because if you want to be able to match these people's talent and energy, you have to go there, because they play these instruments the same way that I play my instrument, and they just kind of go to a different place. Like you said, it's a zone.
That's so good. Anything that you want to ask or add, Marianne?
I don't think so. Like Andrew was saying, Ed and I worked with them over a year ago, and I kind of been watching stuff that comes out on Facebook and postings, and we communicate through Messenger and whatever. And I saw his dog arrive. Well, actually, she didn't arrive. You guys went to get her.
It's true.
And his mom is a great Facebook poster, so she always has all kinds of jokes and stories to tell on Facebook. And no, it's just nice to see. We have the dance world, as Andrew knows, is a small community, and everybody sort of knows what everybody's doing. And as he said, just because he started in dance doesn't mean that's the only thing he's going to do, right? He's broadened his horizons by going to college, and you know, he's doing film and producing and acting and all that kind of stuff. And most dancers, if they survive as a performer, are doing the same kind of thing, broadening their horizons and expanding what they do. And even though Andrew was here for maybe 4 or 5 years, he's still a part of the studio. And I'm happy that we were able to help him on his journey and whatever. It's just kind of nice to see where kids go and what they've become and that kind of thing. It's great.
When you learn things in dance class and being a part of a team and being a part of not just a team, but a team that is trying to express themselves artistically together at once, you learn things and things kind of happen to you along your journey doing this that prepare you for the world and prepare you to go into other mediums of artistic expression and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So, and we'll I hope that the world opens up again. I think it's going to be a long, slow process, but I do honestly believe that we will have light at the end of the tunnel, and that we will be seeing, well, we are seeing now, even now, live production going on because people are in a bubble or they're being COVID tested, but that's going to change. I think it's going to open up, and theaters will open up again and all that kind of stuff. I have faith. Otherwise, I don't think I could have survived this year.
Right. Me too.
You know? Seriously. Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to tell the viewers not to go away because we're going to play the actor reel and the caravan edition, both well worth watching. But that's that's the Dance Fusion Show. We've had Marianne Kuebler, our host, artistic director of Dance Fusion Academy of Dance, and Mr. Art Knows No Medium.
I love it. Thank you so much.
That's a good one. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So Andrew, when he puts it all together.
What did I say, Denise? What did I say about that? Strike two, Denise. Strike dos. All right. Hello. Yeah. Okay. Let's get down to business right away. Cut the shit.
Okay.
Tell me about yourself.
Well, my name is Jordan Smith. I'm passionate.
Oh, forget that I asked about that. Let me tell you about me. I'm taking this company in a different direction. Papa Bear, he's out of the picture. Everything the light touches belongs to me. So, tell me about your screenplay. Is it going to wow me?
Well, I'm hoping so.
Hope doesn't exist here. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear yes or no. Is the screenplay going to wow me?
Yes, it's going. Yes.
Yes. In the end, there's only one Grey Cup champion. One game, win or lose, no tomorrow. This is the culmination of the season. This is the beginning of a legacy. It's just like me, the Bel Air direct coach for a day. Not a season, not a year, one day, no tomorrow. So no tomorrow means we have nothing to lose today, except the game. Don't lose the game. That is very important. Look.
As Detective Naylor searches the back of the ranch, something catches his attention. It's a woman's wristwatch.
Lane?
He was, after that, it was like 4 names in sports were only worth remembering. You know, Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky, and Marvin Gardner.
number 73, never not stream the Blue Jays game. It's a must for us at bowling.
Or at the gym.
Or at your wedding.
Or wait, what? You're the best man.
Well, what do you think I was doing when you were dancing the polka? Plus, I was making out with your sister. Hey, I was just following the rules.
Stay away from my sister.
Nights and stars that shine the thoughts so bright. The street of the faded light that shines upon our caravan, sleep upon my shoulder as we creep across the sand, so I may let's spend the all like caravan. Oh, this is so exciting. You're so inviting. Restless in my arms. As I turn to the magic of that song. And you're beside me here with me in the blue. I dream of love is coming true. If they're not desert government. Desert.